All right, shalom and good afternoon, Brother Randy here. Well, long day's worth of work, cutting up and chopping down this wood. As you can see, I've been able to even cut down further into the tree and get the stumps down and then, cut them up into the individual pieces. And from there, I'll be able to just put the axe to it. So this will act as kindling in the fire, and this will act as wood in the fire. And the beautiful thing about this is I like the cost. When I look at the cost benefit analysis, I can do a hard day's worth of work, and from that one hard day's worth of work yield a season's worth of wood, meaning that all of this wood will heat at least one or two homes for at least one season. And that's the beautiful thing about being self-sufficient. You can maximize your time and your effort and get a whole lot more out of it when you're doing it yourself, when you're not depending on somebody else to produce it for yourself. So, this is the key here. If you really, I'm looking at all of these protests, and I'm looking at all these people out there kneeling down and they're against whatever it is that they're against. And, half the time these people don't even know what the hell they're protesting. But what I've learned definitely over the past 3 to 5 years is that if you want to really protest the system, don't depend on that system. Opt out of that system. And because when you opt out, you're showing the ultimate form of protest. You're not dependent on them for anything. So, when I look at these people, and they're protesting, they're all dependent on the system. They're all angry at the system in some way, shape, or form because they're dependent on the system. And they want these corrupt politicians, these corrupt presidents, these corrupt leaders to conform to whatever it is that they want. And they actually want them to do what the United States Constitution tells them to do, and they're simply put, they're not going to do it any more than, the religious leaders of this day is not going to obey and do their part in a biblical sense, whether it's their popes, their reverends, their synagogues, whatever it is. These people are in it for power, money, and sex. And when you look at them in function, you can see exactly what they're about. And so, when you don't depend on these people, they can't control, manipulate, and dominate you. And again, the ultimate form of protest is to opt out of the system. There's that old movie with Matthew Broderick called War Games. And in the computer simulation, they continue to simulate World War III. They continue to, the computer continues to simulate all of the different scenarios in which who would launch first and where it would detonate and the retaliatory strikes. And after all of the simulations that went through at the end of the movie, it says the best way to defeat or the best way to win World War III is not to play. And you folks got to really understand, when you are self-sufficient, when you are on a piece of property that's paid for, when you're growing your own food, when you're providing your own wood, when you're doing these things, when you're eating your own eggs, when you're building your own homes, when you're off the grid as much as possible, when you're not using their energy, or you're using a minimum amount of their energy, this is the most effective way in order to defeat a tyrannical system. I don't care whether it's state, local, national, international. Just don't depend on them. Is a fight coming? Of course a fight is coming. Because these people want absolute, like Lord Acton says, absolute power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's never been a time when I've seen a person that has had absolute power use that power righteously. They always go tyrannical. And you people need to understand this. And again, the best way to fight this system is not to get out in the street and protest them. It's simply put, is just to walk away. Just to walk away. And you'll be so much more at peace with it. Don't depend on their money. Don't depend on their jobs. Oh, there's so few people out here that are talking about this kind of stuff, much less living it. There's this conference that's going on in St. Louis in a couple of days, some Black National Conference. And I saw a viral YouTube video, and it's posted on Facebook, of a guy getting up and saying, well, how many of you people can fish? How many of you people can hunt? How many of you people can grow your own food? How many of you people can, have arms? There's so few people that know how to hunt their own deer, know how to hunt their own moose or whatever, that know how to fish, that know how to grow, that know how to raise their own cattle, that know how to, maintain a greenhouse, that know how to, produce their own wood and maintain a wood burning stove. There's so few, and let alone black people, that know how to do this stuff. And we're simply put, whether it's on a local, national scale, we're not ready for any kind of revolution. We're not ready for any kind of real change against the system, because at the end of the day, people are just too dependent on the system. They're just too dependent on it. And how do you change a mentality like that when people are just so entitled to what other people have? Because if you're getting something for free, somebody else is paying for it. There's no such thing as nothing for free. I mean, at the end of the day, we cut down this wood and stuff, but I had to work hard for it. I mean, have you ever cut down a tree and, it's easy to just do the 3 cuts and lay it down, but the majority of the work is doing all this shit here. This is the majority. This is 98% of the work right here. Cutting all this stuff up, working with the sheep to eat the leaves, dragging this stuff up, stacking it up, putting a hammer to it, a sledgehammer or maul axe to it, cutting it up, loading it up. This shit is work. And who gonna want to do this? Nobody don't want to do this shit. You know what I'm saying? And because we're a lazy and apathetic society, and we don't want to work. And this is why these people rule over you, is because you consent to their unrighteous laws. You consent to these doctrines of men, and at the end of the day, this is why you're enslaved. When are we going to get this? Now, I don't think, as a matter of fact, as a nation, as a culture, as a people, we're not going to get this. And this is exactly why the majority of people are going into slavery. It's just the truth. Get up off your ass and stop depending on somebody else to do something for you, and do it yourself. Lazy ass Americans. Make me sick.